In the early 20th century, birth was far more perilous for babies than it is today. Around 1900, nearly 1 in 10 infants in the United States died before their first birthday. Can you believe that? Today's story is about how all that changed. Hi, welcome back to Stories at Work, a series where I share real stories from across the world that you can use when you want to drive home a business point. Our website, storyworks.in, already hosts over 100 stories, and we are adding one almost every week. I know I have been inconsistent for the last few weeks. That's because I'm building a house in Kalimpong and it's taking a lot of my bandwidth. But anyway, let's start today's story. Between the 1930s and the 1950s, medical science made huge strides. Infant mortality in the US dropped by more than half, thanks to antibiotics, better hygiene, and improved prenatal care. But here's the strange part. While fewer babies were dying overall, the number of infants dying in the first 24 hours after birth remained unchanged. That first day was still a black hole, and no one knew really why. Doctors and midwives relied on their clinical judgment, often a quick glance, maybe a feel for the baby's pulse or breathing, but it was subjective and inconsistent. Sometimes the sign of distress were missed and the babies died. It was into this medical landscape that a determined doctor named Virginia Apgar stepped in, bringing a simple idea that would transform newborn care, triggered by an unexpected question. Virginia Apgar, born in 1909, graduated fourth in her class from Columbia University's Medical College in 1933. Discouraged from pursuing surgery because she was a woman, she became an anesthesiologist and went on to pioneer the field during that time. In 1949, she became Columbia's first female professor. By the 1950s, as an anesthesiologist, she observed hundreds of deliveries, especially those moments right after birth. Dr. Apgar noticed that newborns received minimal attention post-delivery, the primary focus being the well-being of the mother. Babies struggling after birth weren't assessed in a thorough or consistent manner and often were labeled stillborn with little attempt at resuscitation. She observed that a better systematic assessment of the baby's condition could often mean the difference between life and death. Then one morning in 1952, Dr. Apgar was sitting in the hospital cafeteria having breakfast. A young medical resident joined her. During their chat, he casually asked, Dr. Apgar, how would you make a systematic assessment of a newborn? Without missing a beat, Dr. Apgar pulled out a pen and scribbled 5 simple things on the back of a napkin: heart rate, breathing effort, reflex response, muscle tone, and skin color. Now she said, score each of these on a scale of 0 to 2. 0 if it's bad, 1 if it's okay, 2 if it is strong. Add it up. If it's 7 or more, then the baby is likely fine. Below that, you act immediately. And just like that, over coffee and eggs, a life-saving framework was born. They began using it in delivery rooms. And for the first time, every newborn, every single case, was being objectively assessed at 1 minute and again at 5 minutes after birth. And here's what's amazing. This simple 10-point score reduced infant death in the delivery room almost overnight. Hospitals began tracking the score, taking actions faster, and improving outcomes. Before long, the Apgar score became standard practice, not just in the United States, but across the world. The standardized cry of "what's the Apgar" began echoing in maternity wards around the globe, and it still does to this day. You can ask your wife or mom and they'll tell you they know what the Apgar score is. To this day, millions of babies are given that score within the first moments of life. Medical students across the world are taught the Apgar score, and interestingly, they use a mnemonic Apgar, A-P-G-A-R, to remember the 5 elements: A for appearance, P for pulse, G for grimace, A for activity, R for respiration. The same 5 elements, just worded differently. What a story. Where's the business point in this story? Here are a few. 1. Sometimes what you know isn't enough until you systematize it. Dr. Apgar didn't invent new medical knowledge. She simply organized it into a repeatable framework, and that saved lives. Whether you're in sales, strategy, training, or product design, ask yourself, is there something we do by instinct today that could become a process tomorrow? Frameworks don't replace expertise, they just multiply the expertise impact. And two, breakthroughs don't always come from what we know, they come from what someone asks. Dr. Apgar had all the knowledge in her head, but it took one resident's question: how would you assess a newborn systematically, to unlock that idea and save millions of lives? In business, the right question at the right moment can challenge assumptions, uncover blind spots, or spark innovation. So don't just bring answers into the room, bring questions. I hope you enjoyed that story, and if you did, there are over 100 more at storyworks.in. See you soon. Bye for now.